So hi everyone. I think Mike is outside, but it was a great talk before. My name is Sivan. I'm located here in Tel Aviv. I'm a strategic partner manager focusing on mobile application. What this title actually means is that I am here in order to help you guys make more money. So that's pretty good. I'm basically here to help you succeed more, to help you grow more, and leave more time and assets so that you can build more great, successful apps. So let us start, and I'll start with going a little bit back in time. A little bit before I joined Google, I was studying computer science, and one day I was going out with some friends, and we had a tad too bit to drink. Maybe some of you had that experience last night. And we ended up using our phones to do some pretty embarrassing calls. And the day after, we had that great idea that maybe we will develop an app that will actually block your calls out and some other features on your phone when it identifies that you're drunk. So this app identified the phone movements and the proximity you are to certain pubs in order to block you from calling certain people and embarrass yourself. I think nowadays most apps are actually doing the exact opposite. But at the time, we thought it's going to be a great idea. We built this prototype. It's a pretty bad shot from a YouTube tutorial that we took on my very old HTC phone. And after we built this app, we were already imagining ourselves drinking margarita on the beach after we did a great exit. But then we were kind of stuck on how exactly are we going to make money out of this app? And that's a pretty good question. So what I'm basically going to talk to you about today is what we at Google are doing in order to help app developers who have much better apps than this one to make more money and help you grow. So I'm going to start with a figure or a close figure probably all of you know, and Mike mentioned this as well before me. Most of the app developers, especially the gaming developers, are making money out of in-app purchase. And there are different statistics around this number. This one is talking about gaming specifically, and it's from one research that says that only 1.5% of gamers actually pay in-app. Well, if I walked around here a little, I heard from many of you that these numbers could vary. It could be 2%, 4%, 5%. And the general average doesn't really matter. What matters is that how many of your users are actually paying. And this model of in-app purchase is great. It's making you a lot of money, and you can look at public companies like King, Supercell, and some of them who advertise their revenues. It's an amazing model, but the problem is still that 1.5%, or actually the rest of the users, the one you are not monetizing at all. What are you doing with them? So Mike presented one way of looking at that problem or that dilemma. That's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about the Google approach to that exact issue. I think the fact that we both talked about the same issue means that it is a big issue, and we're trying to address it. So I'm going to talk about adding advertisement into your app, and before I'm going to talk about how and what type of implementation we're going to do it, I'm going to talk about why. What are you missing out on if you're only doing in-app purchasing? And the potential here is pretty big. If we're looking at the whole in-app advertising market, it's estimated to be around $62 billion. That's quite a nice number. Even if you just take a little bit of this, that's $62 billion. Right now, a lot of the gaming companies are just leaving on the table. You don't want to leave all that money on the table. And we're going to address how to take even a small piece of that and hopefully a much larger piece in that in order to grow your revenue. So what's the dilemma we're talking about here today? Well, your top spenders, the whales, as we refer to them in the industry, are making you quite a lot of money. And they're doing in-app purchasing. You want to keep the money that you're making from them. You don't want to hurt that. You want to keep the whales. And on the other end, you want to monetize the rest with maybe ad monetization. So The question is, how are we going to keep the whales? We're going to keep them, we're going to grow them, we're going to nurture them, and also make money from the rest. So in a way, I would say that some of the other solutions that would say, let's treat all the users the same, are actually saying, and this might sound harsh, let's kill the whales. I don't want to kill the whales, I want to preserve them. I want to find a way where you can have your cake and eat it too, and that's what we're going to address here today. Just before how exactly, I have a lot of befores, I want to tell you this, that the model of doing hybrid, in-app purchase and ads, is a model that actually works. We've done a few researches and we've averaged the revenues, and what you're seeing here is indexed revenues. And we saw that if we're comparing developers that are only doing in-app purchases versus developers that are doing some sort of a hybrid model of ads and in-app purchases, the ones that are doing the hybrid model are doing, on average, twice as much as the ones who are only doing in-app purchase. Take your numbers into that. How much money are you making out of in-app purchases? Now double that. I'm guessing you would like to make double. If we're comparing to the ones who are only doing ads, it's 10 times as much, and that makes sense. But even, again, take your numbers into that. Think, would you like to make double? How would we do that? Well, the theory is pretty simple, even trivial. What we would like to do is to segment our users, to have a way of knowing which of the users are prone to pay, who of them are likely spenders, who of them are maybe whales, and for these users, show them in-app purchase. For the rest, who are non-spenders, we have no way of monetizing them with in-app purchase, we want to show them ads, and this way we would make the most out of all of our users. This solution may sound simple, at least the idea of it, but I know that if you've tried to implement it, it's not the simplest solution out there. You would probably know that some work and some design is needed, and this is what we're going to address here today. The beginning to this solution, in order to do the segmentation, is knowing your users from within your own data. Today, when we're talking to app developers, and some researchers show that not that many of the app developers are actually using any type of analytics solution. The latest figures I've seen is that only 21% of app developers are using any type of analytics solution. This is a lot of resources that you have within your hands that many of you are not using. I hope that in this room everyone has any type of analytics solution. You probably all know Google Analytics. It's a very powerful solution. I highly recommend you use that, but use any kind of analytics solution that works for you in order to get a better understanding of your users. Within AdMob, our ad network and platform that I'm going to address, we have a pretty good integration of analytics and AdMob, which helps you do a segmentation of the users in a pretty easy way. One of our features is called the Audience Builder, which actually helps you leverage the data of usage within your app in order to segment the users. This way, you can serve different messages to your users. If a user reached level 5 or is very, very much engaged in your app and is already playing 2 hours straight, you probably want to show them a different message than to a user who just launched the app for the first time. If the user already spent $10, or let's say $2,000, they should be getting a completely different message. The more you know your users, the more you leverage that data, the more you can segment the messages and send them the right message at the right time to the right user. So this is the very basic. Use your own data in order to serve different messages. But, and there is a but, this takes time. You need to build a relationship with the users. And a lot of the more sophisticated app developers are already doing things like this, but it sometimes takes a week to build a relationship with the user and really understand, is he or she a likely payer or not? It can sometimes even take 30 days until you know whether they should be getting an in-app purchase or a monetized ad. And we want to help you save a little bit of this time and also help you leverage data not only from within your app. This is why I'm really excited to tell you about this beta, the in-app purchase house ads beta. With this beta, we're actually using all of the Google proprietary data and our prediction models in order to identify potential spenders. So not only using the data from within your app, but actually using data from everywhere we can use in order to tell you this guy who just used your app for the first time 5 minutes ago could be a spender. You should leverage this. And for that particular person, you want to show an in-app purchase head. So you don't need to wait for the 30 days or 7 days until you know what kind of user it is. And if it's not a potential spender, you want to monetize that user in a different way by using a monetized ad. So we're actually not only saving you time, but also helping you save these whales that we were talking about before, because the whales are going to be identified as potential spenders, as buyers. And if they are potential spenders, they're not going to see monetized ads. They're only going to see your house ads, the in-app purchase ads, the ones you want to show them. And for the rest, the ones that you know are definite non-spenders and that until now you had no good way of monetizing them, you're going to show them monetized ads without hurting the revenue you're already making. So this is our very high-level solution to the developer dilemma. And we had this is a case study from an Australian company. It's a small company, 2 people. And they had a bit over 1 million downloads. They were only doing in-app purchase for a very long time. And it worked pretty well for them, but they were sure they're not monetizing most of their users, as you guys probably know. And they had the same fear. They didn't want to lose what they already have, but they wanted to make more. And we reached out to them with our beta. Within 2 months that they used this beta, they grew their revenue by 6 times. Not only did they add monetized ads to the non-spenders, but they also managed to grow in-app spend by identifying potential spenders much quicker and sending them with the right message. So their ARPU, their average revenue per user, also grew by 20%. This is a great success story. I hope next year I'll have a success story from someone here from implementing this beta, which I really think could be a game changer for you. So we talked about how to differentiate different type of users, and we have one way of doing it. But now, even if we decided that for the non-spenders, we're going to show ads, this is where sometimes it can get a bit complicated. So I'm talking to app developers, and they say, well, we're going to implement ads, but now we need to choose an ad network, and that means adding another SDK. And maybe we don't just want one ad network, so we need a mediation solution. And we're not sure which formats to work with, and maybe we should work with a lot of different formats. And from here and now, they're telling me it's like building another business. We're in the business of making apps. We're in the business of making great games or great apps. And right now, you're talking about building another business. And I can understand that it sounds complicated, and sometimes it is, because we're talking about a lot of different features, a lot of different platforms that sometimes don't really work together. So we've heard all this feedback, and we want to help you uncomplicate it. This is why AdMob, and you probably knew AdMob as an ad network, as a demand network, is transitioning into becoming more of a platform. We want to be your one-stop shop to help solve your monetization problem. It doesn't mean that everyone needs to use all the monetization solution. But if you want to use several of them, you have one place to do it, and everything works together. So we have a mediation solution. We have the demand solution. We have different formats. We have in-app that we just discussed, and everything is based on user analytics. So it's a smarter way of monetizing, not only by showing ads to everyone, because each and every one of your users is different, but by showing the right ad, the right format, in the right time, to different users. So how exactly are we going to do it? So we're adding ad monetization. We need a network. Well, some of you may have commitment issues, and you should. you shouldn't need to commit to one network because networks work differently. They work differently over time. They fluctuate. They work differently within a week. They could work differently in your app than in other apps. They work different in different geographical location. You want to make sure you're making the most out of each impression in your app. So you don't want to commit to just one network, and we understand this. This is why we built our mediation solution to work with as many networks as possible to help you choose which networks to work with and make the most out of each and every one of your impressions. Last year, we mediated 25 networks, and we heard from you that it's not enough. There were more that you wanted to work with. Well, in the beginning of the year, and this is already old statistics, now we have even more. For beginning of 2015, we already mediated 40 ad networks. And if you have any more requests, come find me later. We keep adding more and more ad networks so that you will have one mediation solution to work with as many ad networks as possible. Another thing we heard from you, and that's quite a big thing, is that every time you want to add another ad network, it means adding another SDK. And this is turning your app heavier. This could be the difference between someone instantly downloading your app, even over 3G, and between having that person wait till they get home or to somewhere where there's Wi-Fi because the app is becoming too heavy. So you want to make the most out of each impression, but you don't want to have too many SDKs. This is why we built, and this is a beta, an SDK-less mediation solution. We just started it. We started with a few ad networks and looking to add some more into it. So the idea is that you can mediate with more ad networks without adding more weight into your SDK. So come reach out to me about this later if you're interested in this mediation solution. Another thing is that the mediation should support all the formats you want to work with. So you shouldn't have one mediation solution for each format, and you should be able to work with as many formats as you want, whether it's banners, video, and interstitials. And lately, and this is also a new beta, we added a reward-based mediation solution. So we don't have the demand for it, but we understand that if you're working with us, you want to have one mediation solution for all the demand you have within your app. So this is another great beta. Come find me later if you're interested for a mediation for this as well. So we already know we want to do user segmentation. We don't want to work with just one network. We have the mediation solution across formats for a lot of different networks and SDK-less for some of the networks, which is great. And we also have the demand. So we have the demand for a lot of different formats. We have banners, videos, interstitials, and native. And why would you want so many different formats? Well, because you could see that on average, videos usually perform better than banners. But for some games or for some applications, videos are not the right solution because they could be too much of an interference. Or sometimes natives are the right solution, and there is no one-size-fits-all for this. You need to see which one of these work best for your app and test them, and we have the demand for all of these. And let me dig a little deeper into native, which is one of our newest solutions, and again, we have that in beta. Sometimes you want to show ads to your users, but you don't want it to be in your face. You want it to be a part of the game or a part of the magazine that they're reading, and this is why we launched our native ad solution. We already have a few of our top partners integrating it, and you can see it here. It looks really good within the app, and we have a few different solutions for that. And this is really a great way of integrating ads within your application without hurting the user experience. The last thing I'm going to talk about, the last feature within AdMob, is the reservation. Because sometimes you don't want to put this placement out in the market. You want to reserve it to someone special. It could actually just be reserve it for yourself. Say you have a lot of apps and you want to do cross-promotion. We want to help you with this. Say you have a way of doing a direct deal. Someone reached out to you and told me, sell me this and that much impressions, I'll give you more. And you want to do that as well. So we want to help you with this. And again, have everything on a one platform, so it would be much easier for you to to monetize. So this is our AdMob reservation solution, also a beta. Almost everything I talked about here today is a beta, actually, to help you do cross-promotion and reservation deals in case you're looking for that as well. So let me summarize a little, and I'll leave some time for questions, or come find me or my team later on. A lot of these features actually came from feedback we had from you guys, from app developers, that, well, we want to monetize the rest of the users, the one they're not spending with in-app purchase, but we don't want to lose all that money that we're making. And it's a lot, I understand you. I wish I'd known all of this when I did my drunk application that didn't really work. So the first step is really knowing your users. Use your own data. Segment the users and give them different messages. We can help you with that. We can help you know your users before you know your users. Use our beta in order to identify the users according to our Google data and serve them with different messages. Treat your users differently. Each one of them should be getting different message according to what they're doing in your app or in other places. And when you're sending them messages, make sure you're doing it in the best possible way in order to maximize yield. I would be happy to hear feedback about this or other ideas that we've talked about here, because this is the way we're actually approaching the product later and growing our product to be a better fit and help you guys grow. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I think we have some time here, or come find me later at the booth. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for the presentation. Just a quick question. You said the IRP is about 62 billion.
Ads revenue.
Yeah.
This is one of the researches that I've seen 62 billion. I've also seen 70 billion.
Just wondering, how much is the 62 billion games, or is it the entire app store?
Oh, entire.
So how much of that is the games? Do you know that?
It's just from advertising. There's the source for the research. I don't remember if there was a segmentation of games versus apps.
Okay, thank you.
iOS just recently allowed ad blocking, so I'm interested how this has affected the revenues from ads and what your plans are to deal with this.
Well, I don't have anything to share about that externally yet. Sorry, but it hasn't been a complete block, and we can come talk about it a little offline, but there's no external thing that we're doing right now in order to avoid that.
You talked a bit about your prediction of...
about what, sorry?
The prediction service to know in which segment the user will be. Can you talk a bit about what's the input for that prediction? Is that...
So we're not using
the data
apps
from the app itself, or from other apps?
No, so what we're doing is actually, we're not using signals from within the app. We're using that as well, but we're using everything on the Google properties and a model. I have to say it's pretty accurate in terms of predicting who's a likely spender and who's a definite non-spenders. We have a few in the middle, and we're just not serving them nothing, because we know that you could maybe make them change into spenders, so we don't want to hurt that. But it's not from your app's data. It's bigger than that. So thank you. If you have any more questions, I'll be in the booth.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.